Amanda, whenever you're ready.
Thank you for that introduction. My name is Amanda Presley, the policy coordinator at NASW New York that focuses on upstate. And I'm here with Gideon Massa, who I'll pass over to introduce himself quickly as well.
Hi, y'all. I'm Gideon Massa. I'm also a policy coordinator here at NASW New York. I focus specifically on the city wide aspect. So yeah, I'll give it back to Amanda.
So excited for you all to be here today to learn a little bit more about all things advocacy at NASW New York. We have both of our chairs for our advocacy committees here present today, Megan Marshall and Alicia Bryant, and they will be giving presentations right after the policy team makes our presentation on what is exactly happening at NASW New York, which can be a popular topic. And so I'll just get right into the presentation. So let me share my screen here. Can you all see that okay? Okay, great. So advocacy at NASW New York. Oh,
no, good.
Okay. So our popular statement here is no decision about you without you. We are a membership-led organization. Everything that we do to impact the social work profession or policy at the state level, that directly is what our membership thinks is the best action for us to go forward. Social workers are the experts, the people that are on our lovely advocacy committees that are various social workers from all over the field, whether it be in hospitals, schools, whether that be as professors, schools of social work, or anything that social workers are doing, counseling, therapy. We have it all on our advocacy committees. And so we're so grateful to have those experts to constantly refer to and get feedback from on these different policy issues revolving around the profession. But I wanted to get into today exactly how decisions are made at the chapter so members can be more informed on what that process looks like and also how they can get involved in impactful decisions that NASW leads the charge on. So firstly, how are decisions made at the chapter? And so firstly, the chapter is made aware of an issue or campaign for support through a coalition, advocacy organization, individual with a concern, a public official, or from a credible news article or a release from the government that could affect the social work profession and the clients they serve. And so this could be the initiative for hunger, anti-hunger, where we're getting updates about what's happening around SNAP, and their team reaches out to the policy staff and says, hey, we would like NASW New York to support this specific initiative. That could be, last year they passed free lunch in schools for students, and that's an example of something that we were asked to support. We get asked to support issues a lot. That comes from a variety of different groups. There are coalitions, which is comprised of multiple advocacy organizations and individuals that are passionate about a cause. One example of a coalition we're a part of is the New York Health Act. We support the New York Metro Physicians for a National Health Program on that. And that can look like a staff attending their coalition meetings that occur monthly or biweekly, or that could look like giving them a memo of support or signing on to a letter that they're trying to get some advocacy movement on. But yeah, anything could really spark the need for action from NASW to get involved in an issue. And that could be something released at the federal level that might affect our New York State with everything rolling out recently in regard to Medicaid cuts, for instance, SNAP and housing. That is something that NASW policy team and the members felt that we needed to take immediate action on. And that is why we immediately started looking at, okay, what impacts can we make in our state, and also consulting our advocacy team continually. Okay, what do you think that we can make a specific impact on in our New York State as a chapter? But once we are made aware of an issue, any issue, because there are a broad amount of issues that affect social work, since social work does like to get involved in helping vulnerable populations and social justice as a whole. And so it can be very broad, the issues that are presented to our chapter. So once the staff is made aware of a support request for a policy issue or campaign, then that information is forwarded to the correct place. And so that is to the board of directors and advocacy committees. So when we send information about a bill or support request or campaign request, that also entails sending the relevant information and context so that members can have the context to support what decision they should make, whether that be a vote of yes or no, or whether that be giving feedback on how we can move forward in relation to any issue. And so for the different issues that we're confronted with, the PACE committee, the NASW New York City and New York State, which is now New York, they endorse candidates. And so that goal is to advance the social work profession through elections. And in order for the staff to attend any events related to campaigns and give a contribution, we need to first have the committee vote, and quorum must be met as well. And so there's no movement on any contributions or endorsements unless that PACE committee makes that decision for us to attend or for us to provide an endorsement to a candidate. And then on the other side, to talk about policy issues and legislative advocacy, AGR votes on the legislative priorities and the issues that we advocate for at CAD. And so when we are moving along our agenda, we have to constantly check in with AGR, ask for any feedback and direction, and also have them vote on the specific priorities that we're going to move forward with. Also, we need feedback around memos of support. If we are asked to provide a memo of support around any policy issues, and they are made aware of sign-on requests. In addition, with the sign-on requests, the board of directors must also approve or deny these sign-on requests. And all decisions made by PACE and AGR must be reviewed by the board of directors before it's moved forward with. And so when we start our legislative session in 2026, and we have voted on 2 priorities with AGR already. And we're going to be deciding on a 3rd one or a 4th one soon. And so come before the session, everything will have to be approved by the board of directors, what we move forward with next year. And then, of course, the code of ethics governs everything that we do. It's incredibly important and sacred to social work. It outlines that social justice is necessary for social workers, and it also holds the ethical standards that we need to abide by. And also anything that National has set forth in their bylaws, that is something that we have to pay mind to as well as we move forward in all our decisions. I wanted to share some of the rallies we went to this last summer. So we have been getting out there more in the community, and we want members to actively tell us what's going on in their community so that we can get out there more as well. But the advocacy committees, we invite them to come with us. We also invite the board of directors to come with us. We attended the New York Health Act rally, which was fighting against Medicaid cuts. This was next to City Hall. And then this was a rally outside Trump Tower about 988, which is the LGBTQIA plus hotline to assist people that are going through mental crises and they need specific help. And so that was under threat of cut. So that's why we supported that. And then also Gideon went to the Disability ADA Rights March. And so we're continually looking for different ways that we can get out there and show NASW supports these different initiatives that align with social work and what it represents. Something new we started at the chapter is the Policy Corner newsletter, which actually serves as the source of news for members about anything policy happening at NASW. This is a member exclusive benefit. And so nobody outside of our membership does get this newsletter. It's only for members. And this will be the most up-to-date initiatives that NASW policy is working on. It'll be the quickest update that you could possibly get about things that are going on. And so I'll give you a quick example of one of our newsletters. So for instance, here we had a federal comment period that was taking comments about mental health in schools and where funding would be directed to. And so that was a little time sensitive. And so we put that in the policy corner. Initially, when we sent out this request, there was 50 comments. Keep in mind, this is federal, but a lot of NASW members actually did show up on this comment. And by the end of the register period, there were actually 1,000 comments, which was great to see. And so we have updates about telehealth. I know that's a popular topic because people are kind of in limbo about what's exactly going to happen with that, as I know that a lot of people are in practice online. Any statements that come out, any community engagement events that we're working on. We feature our CARES events on there too that have to do with advocacy. And then any guides or updated content that we provide, we do on here as well. I'm going to pass it over to Gideon to talk a little bit about the community engagement events that we've been going to lately.
Yeah, absolutely. We continue to go in general, as Amanda mentioned, we have continually been looking for opportunities, that being rallies or community engagement, places that NASW can show our faces in. And so we've gone to, honestly, at this point, countless. Just last week, I went to one in Brooklyn for it was. I'm pretty sure State Rep Monica. I'm so sorry. I'm realizing you. There are so many that come up, but the point is we continuously are going to these events, and many of them can be just a parade like events, etc. For example, here at the bottom here, we actually have one of our members of PACE, Mark. He ran one with the Queens Against Kings march and rally. I'm referencing the one with the NASW table there. And that was a great event where we met with multiple NGOs and other nonprofits where we could discuss advocacy and how we are trying to make a change within the New York broader region. And it was a very good area, this event specifically, to really rally up the troops. A lot of people right now are upset federally about what's going on in the federal government. So it was a good area for us as nonprofits in New York to talk about how in New York we can help combat these said issues that are coming out. But yeah, I guess my point is in general, we continuously go to these community engagement events, and we would love to have more opportunities. If anyone has any other opportunities for us to get out there, that's a huge part of our job, and we love getting to meet the people in our communities and these NGOs and nonprofits that help run New York. I think we can go to the next slide.
Great. And then going into upcoming things that we have going on for advocacy that we're excited about, we will have a fall policy series, which we're launching the information about that shortly. And this event is basically geared towards prepping advocates for our Capital Action Day, which will be February 10th of the next year. And we heard some feedback from members last year that they felt like they needed some advocacy training because sometimes if you've never done advocacy before, it can be very intimidating. You know, how do I even walk in the room? How do I start a conversation? Things like that. And so we are going to feature an advocacy training and also a priority talk to brief people about the priorities that we will advocate for on Capital Action Day. And that will hopefully feature some legislative guests. So that information will come out soon, but we're hoping to have some special guests for that event. And then also it will be another deep dive into what we're working on at the chapter as well, and trends in the state politics as we get closer to the state of the state and what that might entail. Our Capital Action Day is February 10th, 2026. This is our annual event. It's the 5th Capital Action Day. The first one was actually during COVID and it was virtual, and it's now escalated and advanced into an in-person event at the Capitol. Last year, we had 100 social workers there, and this year, we think that we'll have more people. We've started to talk to some schools of social work, and students are very energized about coming to our Capital Action Day. And we know that advocates in the social work profession and related fields are also excited to make a difference. It's all about the workforce. We really are pouring a lot of our energy into supporting the workforce, and that comes with loan forgiveness and also supporting schools in their mental health efforts. And so we're looking for sponsors currently for Capital Action Day. If you yourself own an organization that you'd like to gain some more exposure at Capital Action Day, or you're related to another nonprofit that is looking to get their mission out there, then feel free to reach out to us. We do have opportunities to table. We have a lot of people in our communications. We have over 60,000 people just in our email communications alone. And on social media, we have a lot of followers as well to be able to put some exposure to anyone's mission or brand, or if they have any new passions that they'd like to get out there to social work. This would be a great event to feature anything that you're working on. Then I'll pass it back over to Gideon.
Yeah, so as we've discussed now, we are doing a ton on the policy side in general when it comes to our advocacy work and our policy work in general. That being both throughout with the AGR and PACE committees that we luckily have members to speak about today. So these are just a few quotes that we've had from both Brian Jimenez and German Sanchez, Herman, excuse me. I'm not going to necessarily read them out, but I think that is setting us up for the AGR and PACE committee chairs to come talk to us about AGR and PACE.
I'm almost done here, I promise.
Oh.
So just some other ways to make an impact that I wanted to share with you all. We have our Currents newsletter, which will be released soon for the fall issue. And we encourage you to share your story. We do have our priorities, the school mental health, loan forgiveness, salaries, and a number of other issues on our policy page on our website. If you do write an article, then we can use that for our advocacy. We can use that in meeting legislators. We can also try to get press coverage on if you were to write an article, or you could record yourself talking. We can use that for video campaign, if you're fortunate and have some personal experience or what you've seen. And then also we've been working on a podcast that's in the works. So if that sparks your interest and to be featured, you are near Albany, because we need to know if we can call on you when we are doing advocacy at the Capitol. We're trying to get an increase in the budget line for loan forgiveness. And so that can look like running to different offices in the Capitol. And so if you're somebody that's interested in something like that and we can call on you, please reach out to us. We have some resources which we can share in the after event changes as well as this. And then lastly, this is how to contact us moving forward. And that's all I have. I'll pass it on to the next person. I'll give it back to Angelique.
Thank you so much, Amanda. I believe the next person to speak will be Megan. Am I correct?
I think I'm on deck. Yes, that sounds right to me. Thank you. Hi, everybody. It is so nice to be here with you. I am going to share my screen. All right, can everybody see that? Okay, cool. Thank you. I'm also managing two screens, so if you see my head bopping back and forth, that's what's going on. But I am here to talk about AGR for you to get a sense of who I am and who you're listening to right now. My name is Megan Marshall. I am the current chair of the Advocacy and Government Relations Committee, or AGR committee. You're going to hear AGR, so that's what that means. I have been a member since AGR. I've been a member in AGR since 2021. But I've been the chair for the last year or so, got my MSW from Fordham, and I've always been a macro social worker. I've worked in workforce development, economic justice, and I've also worked for an assembly member. And now I'm out on my own as a freelancer, supporting and serving nonprofits and social justice organizations in a multitude of ways. So that is me, but enough about me. We're here to talk AGR. So Amanda set me up really well. She gave us a quick overview of some things about AGR that I'm hoping that I can build upon and reiterate a little bit. But AGR, so years ago, the chapter's advocacy efforts were outsourced to an independent consultant. But a few years ago, the chapter revitalized its advocacy efforts because we want the members to decide our legislative agenda. Because as we said before, it's worth saying again, no decisions should be made about us without us. So that's kind of an impetus behind switching from that independent consultant or lobbyist to having the members drive this work forward. So as Amanda touched on, today the committee is tasked with crafting and executing a yearly legislative agenda for the chapter. And so how do we work together? Some of these things are touched upon by Amanda, but I'm going to dig into them a little bit deeper, I think. Attending monthly meetings is kind of where the crux of all of our work as a committee happens. And I know I have 2 committee members here, so when we have time for questions and stuff at the end, if I miss anything, y'all can have my back. But the monthly meetings are where we come together to talk about, what are we doing? What's the work that needs to be done? Future planning, what's the progress we made, and how can we keep building on that momentum together? And as the legislative session starts to pick up, these monthly meetings might also be accompanied by ad hoc meetings when we need to really focus in on something specific that's going on as it comes up. So that's kind of the main place where we meet. The other task that AGR committee has is researching and discussing policy. So we need to set the legislative agenda, right? But how do we start doing that? We need to know what's happening in the social work profession, what topics are impacting the profession and those that we serve, what legislation and bills are coming out that could impact us, all of those things. And the policy team at NASW really helps us kind of identify some of those. And as Amanda said, we have people who are clinical social workers, school social workers, macro social workers. So all of that combined extra expertise comes together to kind of brainstorm a list of potential legislation, existing legislation, and other topics that we might want to address as a unit. So after we've done all that researching, discussing, and brainstorming and gathering of information, we come to a vote. And the vote is happening for AGR next month in October, so very soon. So we kind of take all of that, we compile it down, we put it to a vote, and we come to a quorum. So I know a couple years ago, there was like 20 different ideas. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but there was a lot of ideas, and we really needed to narrow in that focus to make sure that we were advocating with a clear message and a clear priority that we thought could really move forward at that particular time. So that vote happens every single year. Once we do that vote, it goes to the board, as Amanda discussed earlier. And once the board has approved that, it becomes the chapter's priorities for that particular year. From there, it goes we do a lot of different things. We meet with legislators, all this stuff. We do memos of support, as Amanda mentioned. And then it all culminates, at least in my opinion, on Capital Action Day. And AGR committee members support the policy team in the development of that. That could look like a lot of different things, helping to think through the agenda for the day, helping get the word out to help have more people come, all sorts of things like that. And on the day of Capital Action Day, members are expected to kind of take on a leadership role. So when the attendees go and attend these legislative meetings, a member of AGR we're hoping will kind of lead those groups forward. So that's another responsibility of committee members. Aside from that, similar to what we were discussing before, there's the events that the team will notify us about, and so the committee members are asked to do that, and the people here on this call can probably go to those too, which would be amazing. And then we also use our voices. We speak at events. We've had committee members write op-ed style pieces for the Currents newsletter that Amanda talked about. So there's all things that happen in between these big moments that help move our advocacy efforts forward. And that's a little taste of how we work together. And to give a taste of the legislative priorities, again, the 2026 ones we're voting on next month, some of these will be carried forward. But I just want to kind of put a little taste out there of what these were. So address inequities in social work salaries. At a high level, the goal of this priority in this legislation was to align social work salaries with the training and responsibilities and the knowledge and expertise that we bring. And also to address racial salary inequities that were identified in some research done by NASW and other initiatives. And another piece was to fund a COLA to help recruit and retain social workers, because we need social workers to stay social workers, right? Secondly, expanding loan forgiveness programs for social workers across the state. Again, at a high level, one piece of this legislation was calling for all social workers to be eligible for this loan forgiveness, not just licensed. So I'm an MSW, not an LMSW, so I wouldn't be eligible, but we want all social workers to be eligible for this. And another piece of it was tied to 3 years of service in agencies that were serving shortage areas. So if there is we want more social workers, and we want more social workers going to areas that there aren't currently enough social workers. So that was a piece of that piece of legislation. And thirdly was improving the ratio of students to social workers in schools, social workers and other mental health professionals. And this would ask the commissioner to set and implement ratios so that every kid and every school has a professional that they can go to. And also that gives more social workers more jobs, because we need more social workers in schools. So it's very, very, very high level. Some of these we will be taking forward in 2026. But again, that vote is in October, so I'm not gonna say for sure yet, but that's just a taste of what those priorities look like. And again, I'm going to talk about Capital Action Day because it is so worth talking about. It is such an exciting time of the year. I look forward to it every year. And I love it because it's where this work as a committee really culminates for me. It's our chance to advocate for these priorities in person alongside a bunch of other fellow social workers. And it's just a really amazing day. And I won't stay too much on this slide because Amanda talked so beautifully about what Capital Action Day is. But again, it's a chance for us to meet with our legislators, advocate for the social work profession and the communities that we serve, hear from legislators and what they're thinking about, because that's, it's a two-way street. We got to talk to them. If we want something to move forward, we got to know what's on their mind, right? And there's also some continuing education opportunities that I find very valuable. And if you join AGR, as I mentioned, you can contribute to the amazing work that the policy team does to plan this day. So you can make that year-round impact. So if you've been to Capital Action Day and you got a little taste and you want more of it, if you join AGR, you can have more of a say in what that day looks like. And I think that's really special. All right. And overall, this quote here is from Pilar. Pilar, I know you're on the call. Surprise, I quoted you here. But Capital Action Day is a way to make an impact, but so is AGR. And I'm not going to read this whole quote to you because it's beautiful and I'll let you read it yourself. But I want to speak a little bit about what AGR has done for me as a social worker. I started as a student, I was a career changer a little bit later, and I was not sure where I wanted to fit in the social work world, but I knew I wanted something to do with advocacy, something macro, and meeting folks in the AGR gave me a lot of knowledge and insight into things I was interested in and other things that I didn't know that were out there. Because like I said before, we have clinical social workers, school social workers. Social workers can do everything, and we have people in AGR committee who can give us a taste of that. And so it was helpful for me to network and learn more about the profession, get more involved, give back to a world of work that means so much to me. And it also is so important because together we can make an impact, right? Like, I'm a macro social worker. I've never done clinical work, so I don't have that lived experience or that work experience that those folks do. So together, when we come together and give our different expertise and voices together, we can make more of an impact as a united collective. And I think that's really a really important part of social work, for me, at least. So I'll stop waxing poetic. AGR has been very meaningful to me. I've been around for a while in it, and I'm excited to be talking about it with all of you. And I'm excited to answer any questions towards the end of the call if you have them. And I think that's it. This is Amanda and Gideon's emails. If you guys want to get involved in AGR, hit them up and we'll collaborate and get you going. And I think that's what I got.
Thank you so much, Megan. Amanda, can you drop you and Gideon's email addresses in the chat for those folks that are expressing interest? Great job. Everyone's been doing such an incredible job today. Thank you to the policy team, to the AGR committee, and to PACE, who I will be introducing next. Alicia Bryant is up. Alicia, whenever you're ready.
It'd be helpful if I would unmute myself first. Okay. All right. I don't know how to make this look different, so y'all are just gonna have to go with it this way. Hi everybody. I am Alicia Bryant. I am the chair of the NASW New York PACE committee. So this is a little bit about me. I am a licensed I'm an LMSW, sorry, and a PhD candidate at Yeshiva University. I also work full-time as the program director for New York Connects Brooklyn, serving older adults and individuals with disabilities across the lifespan. And I won't read the rest of this because it's just boring stuff about me that's less important. Okay. So what is PACE? PACE stands for Political Action for Candidate Election. And, you know, Megan gave us a wonderful history of AGR, but, you know, NASW also has the PACE committee where we endorse candidates, because while AGR sets the legislative agenda for the chapter, who makes the laws, right? The elected officials. So through PACE, we identify and endorse candidates to help support and push the legislative agenda of the chapter. So this is NASW's Political Action Committee. We have representatives from all divisions across the state, or we aim to have representation from all divisions across the state, recognizing that there are local elections and there are state elections and all the things, and we can't possibly know about everything that's happening everywhere. So unless we have representation from all areas across the state, it's really difficult for us to know what's happening in everyone's geographic region. So that's why it's really important to have representation on the committee. So while of course all candidates that we endorse are not going to always be social workers, just because we know not all social workers run for elected office, although we hope that more will. We try to endorse candidates that are more aligned with social work values, and then this helps to strengthen the profession's voice in politics. And so PACE is where advocacy meets elections, our values, and make sure that all of those show up on the ballot. So I talked a little bit about this. Laws don't pass themselves, leaders do. So making sure that we endorse candidates that represent social work values, social work ethics. Endorsements equal policy champions in office. PACE plus AGR equals legislative and political power. And if we want policy wins, we need political wins first. So a little bit about what we do. We screen and endorse candidates who share social work priorities. So let's say a committee member brings forth oh, there's this great candidate running for election in my district. We will sit, we'll talk about the candidate, look them up. Gideon or Amanda, they're really amazing at helping us kind of identify certain candidates and what their history has been. If they're new candidates, then we kind of talk about what they've done before coming to run for elected office. We're hoping to begin mobilizing members to support campaigns, because while we're endorsing candidates and providing them a monetary contribution to support their campaign, we also want to make sure that they get elected, right? So mobilizing social workers to support their campaigns, volunteer on their campaigns, educate the profession on civic engagement. Why are we voting? Why is it important? Why do our voices matter? One of the things that I'm looking to do with Megan this year is partner with AGR to connect endorsements to legislation. So if we can like do some op-eds together, a couple of other things that might support and raise awareness around policy issues. And this picture is Amanda and me at an event that we went to together recently. Okay, so the endorsement process. So we just revitalized the questionnaire that we send out to all the candidates. So that went out and we did get some responses, which was great. You know, the committee, we're planning to meet next week to review all of those questionnaires, and then we'll reach out to candidates for interviews and discuss with them, like, what are their policy priorities? How do they align with social work values? Do they see value of social workers? Would they employ social workers in their offices? Because all of these things are really important, right? It's important to our social work profession, and just making sure that who we're endorsing and giving money to, while it's not like a huge sum of money, I think the highest amount that we voted on thus far to give to a candidate is like $1,000. But at the same time, we want to make sure that there's value and there's buy-in when we are endorsing candidates, because, you know, we pay membership dues. And so technically this is our money, and we want to make sure that it's going to candidates that that will help support the social work profession. So then the committee votes on who we should endorse, and then we vote. We have like a tiered scale, like let's say it's a social worker, they'll get a higher monetary amount than a non-social worker. And then once we decide that we're going to endorse a candidate, there's like, you know, an announcement that goes out and they get like, you know, publicized and all of that, that we've endorsed them. So why do endorsements matter? It builds candidate credibility with voters, gives social workers leverage in Albany, influences legislative priorities early, and raises the profile of the profession. So of course, we want to make sure, again, that if we are endorsing you, like when Megan and her team decide like, okay, we're going to push these legislative priorities, they can go back to the people that we endorse like, hey, you know, you don't want to say like, oh, we gave you money, but at the end of the day, like, we mobilize social workers to help get you elected, we endorse you, and we, you know, expect their support when we're looking to pursue our legislative agenda. So our goals for 2025, 2026 is to grow member participation and pace. We have a wonderful committee of members right now, many of them who are already politically active and who have like connections to different elected officials. Because NASW New York City and New York State recently merged into NASW New York, we have a really great representation of both city and like upstate members. But we would love to have more people from different regions across the state, just because, again, like, there are things happening in certain areas that many of us have never been, and we have no idea like what the landscape looks like there, and who can speak to those issues better than someone who lives there, who's from there, and who knows exactly what's happening. We would like to strengthen the collaboration with AGR, build a deeper endorsement pipeline, get more elected officials knowing about like what we do, what our endorsement process looks like, things like that, and hopefully that they'll apply to receive endorsements for us. And then we're also looking at maybe doing some funding campaigns so that we can raise more money, so that we can do more endorsements or do different types of events and things like that. So this is how you can get involved. You can join PACE. You can also volunteer on campaigns, like if there are any calls that go out to like canvas or do phone banking or door knocking or anything like that. You know, get involved that way. You can help us mobilize some voters in your area, spread the word, share endorsements in your networks, let them know like, hey, you know, we're looking at endorsing these candidates. If anyone ever has like any information about a candidate, send it our way if they think that it might be of interest for us to look out for somebody. Donating to pay, so this helps us build our endorsement fund. When you pay your membership dues, there's a place on there where you can like donate to pays, which helps us increase our funding. And then if you want to be a PACE ambassador, let's say you don't necessarily want to be involved in the committee, but you still want to do something, maybe we can have like special projects and things like that that you might be able to be involved in, help us organize events and expand our reach. This is just my shameless plug about making sure that you when you renew your NASW membership to donate, even $5 or $10 makes a difference. And just adding in that you would like to donate to PAVES. And so this is my reiteration of my call to action. So you're going to join PAVES, you're going to volunteer on campaigns, you're definitely going to support AGR, you're going to donate when you renew, and you're going to help us organize events. And don't forget, join NASW, renew your membership, share your the link with your friends and your colleagues. And if anyone wants to get in contact with me, this QR code, you can scan it. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, Alicia. Thank you to AGR. Thank you to PACE and the policy team. We are opening it up for questions. We have about 15 minutes, so we are very open to any comments, questions, inquiries, anything you all need. Feel free to unmute. If you do not want to unmute, you can feel free to drop it in the chat and I'll read it out loud for you. Go ahead, Anisha.
I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for hosting this meeting tonight. I'm happy to be here. Truth be told, I was occupied in the very beginning of the meeting. I was trying to, I was early, but I was occupied, so I couldn't hear I couldn't hear like a lot about, I believe, Capital Day, right? But yeah, I'll definitely look forward to connecting. I have your emails. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We look forward to connecting with you.
Yes, indeed.
I'm going to drop in the chat our Capital Action Day page, which has the most updated information about our annual advocacy event. And that will be, as a reminder, February 10th in Albany. So if you've never been to Capital Action Day, we basically get a couple rooms in the concourse. The concourse is like the big bottom floor of the New York State Capitol. And it looks almost like the Matrix. It's like a big marble space. And so we get 2 meeting rooms in there. It can host about 300 social workers max. And this year we have 2 different rooms, so it's a little different from last year. So we're hoping to have one room be like a strategy session and planning area, and also have CE presentation in there. And then we'll have another room where people can gather and eat and relax. So we're excited how it's going to look a little bit more dynamic this year. And all the updated information will come to your email because you're all members, and you'll get exclusive access to register once that's released in the next couple of weeks.
So, excuse me, so this is David. So you have to register to attend Capital Day?
Yes.
Okay.
It's free. It's free to attend.
And transportation, you have to provide your own transportation to get up, or can you carpool, or how does it work? You travel up there by yourself, or that's how does it work?
So
Like,
last year we did carpools, and we kind of like connected everyone on email and asked who needed a ride and connected with people who could provide that ride. But this year we're trying to get sponsorships to be able to get buses for attendees. Right now we're looking at a couple of schools of social work that are trying to arrange some buses. So it's something that we want to do. We want to provide transportation for members, but that solely relies on how much money we can raise to make the most out of this event. And so we'll keep members updated on transportation opportunities that we come across, but that relies on if we get some corporate sponsors to try to help mental health here and somebody to boost up our efforts.
Thank you.
We have a question in the chat. Is there going to be a way to engage remotely in Capital Action Day in 2026?
That's something that we're exploring. I think that at the very least, we can make the CE hybrid, just because people are going to be moving back and forth and going to in person to these different offices and these legislative offices. So it's a little bit of walking all over the place. So it might be hard to capture the whole event online, but I think at the very least, we can make the CE hybrid and any speakers that are coming to speak to the room.
I would add on to that if we can make the CE and all what Amanda said virtual, that'd be great. But you can also, if you attend the policy series and you do the advocacy training and stuff, you can take that knowledge and reach out to your local legislator and set up a meeting. It can be on the day and you can set it up so you can still talk to somebody on that day, and you can set up a Zoom call if that works better for you. And through the policy series and the information that'll go out ahead of time, you'll have information on the priorities and all that good stuff. So you'll have the resources to lean on in that meeting if you do that. And if you need help identifying who your representative is, reach out to us and we can help you figure that out.
I'm so happy you mentioned that, because if you all are living, and I know that to register for this event today, you had to provide your legislative district. So maybe I'll check up on your districts to see if any of you have a legislator that we need to get in touch with. But if you're living in a district where your senator or assembly member is a key person that can move along our legislative agenda, then if you're not able to attend, you can always attend a Zoom meeting with the policy staff, like Megan just said, because that can be very impactful as well. But specifically, if you have a legislator that we're trying to target in the mental health committees or the higher education committees, then that is a lot very impactful for what we're trying to work on.
But also, if you are able to attend in person, it's such a fun day and you should do it if you can. I know that it's not possible for everybody, but it's a really fun day.
I want to attend in person.
That's what I want to hear, David.
In person too.
Hoorah.
Yeah.
We're going to try to do our best to make that happen. We want to
Love to hear it. So we still have a few minutes for those of you who have additional questions or comments. Once again, feel free to unmute or drop them in the chat if that makes you more comfortable. Well, I just want to say that there are tons of different ways to engage in advocacy at the chapter. If you are signed up for the email list, you do receive the digest every Wednesday. Similarly to the Policy Corner, there's direct access to advocacy efforts there. And in addition to everything that the AGR, the PACE Committee, and the policy team has spoken about this evening, we invite you to explore all of the ways. The collective is where the power is, and we need every voice to start this choir. We are stronger together. Anisha, we're gonna get you all of that information. Promise, I'm actually working on a member package to send out to our full membership, so you should be receiving that very, very soon. Amanda's gonna drop the advocacy flyer for folks in the chat.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If we have any more questions, any comments, please feel free to drop it in the chat or unmute. Amanda just dropped that document in the chat for you. Just click on the little blue arrow and it'll help you download it.
I just want to say that, you know, this is my second session attending, and what I've heard so far is just outstanding. I feel your energy. You know, I see that y'all doing a great job. Just keep going. You know, like you said, we have to stay united as social workers and just work with the powers that be that's on our side to basically help the people, especially those who are the least of us, those who are marginalized and who's at a disadvantage in the society. We as social workers, we got to stand up, we got to fight for them, we got to speak for them, and we got to help them.
Thank you so much for those words, David. Okay. Mic drop moment. I love that. We're going to give it just another minute. If you have any comments or questions, now's the time before we end the evening, and I let you all go for your dinners. All righty. I'm going to give it just another moment or so, and then I'll stop the recording for everyone. I just want to personally thank the policy team, the AGR committee, and the PACE committee for all of their hard work, their efforts, their energy, and their time to put all of this information together for all of you, and the work that they do on a daily basis with the chapter. It is very, very much appreciated. I really appreciate you all for being here. Amanda, do you have any last words before I stop the recording?
My last words would be just the volunteers make everything move along. If we don't have experts to talk to, then there's no reason for us to keep going, really, because it all relies on what the membership thinks. It all relies on what social workers think. And so if we can't touch base with the people on the ground every day and the people that are constantly doing this work, then we don't have a conception of reality to move forward with our advocacy. And so people that attend this event today, thank you so much for coming, because we need to hear your energy and your feedback, because that just sparks a larger fire, and it, goes to more social workers, so that maybe we'll have 300 social workers at Capital Action Day this year instead of our 100 that we had last year. And then that just builds our credibility with the legislature and with the governor. And if we are all together, then we can really move mountains. And so even just having a small group here today and having everyone who is here today go and tell 3 other friends, then that'll trickle into 50, 60 people just from this 14 in the call. And so we'd really appreciate you to spread the word about what we're doing, because that'll help tremendously. If we post something on LinkedIn or Instagram, please share it to your story, repost it. If we have an event coming up, please tell your friends to attend. If we have our Capital Action Day and you come across anyone that you think can support our work, shoot us an email with any opportunity. And yeah, we always look to our members, anyone who's a social worker that we can get expertise from and feedback from. And we really appreciate you here today. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all at our policy series and hopefully Capital Action Day.
Thank you so much. Megan, Alicia, Gideon, if you have any last words.
I just want to say echo to David's mic drop moment, and thank you guys for being here, and I hope to see you guys more involved.
Yeah, the same thing. That was great, David, and really highlighting just Amanda. That was great work with the presentation, and what she said at the end there is completely true. Also, I can't express enough. Amanda and I work on it all the time. Come to Capital Action Day. It's going to be a great day. We're going to be talking to our legislators. We're going to be talking to our politicians. We're going to be really opening up the floor for the policy side around surrounding social work. We're really trying to get things done this Capital Action Day. So spread the word, spread that flyer, and thank you guys so much for coming.
Once again, thank you all for joining us today. I'm going to stop this recording. Thank you for being here.